Retirement is often seen as a new chapter in life. But have you ever wondered if, behind the freedom and leisure, there might be hidden depths of loneliness? Many believe that reconnecting with old friends is a healing remedy, a way to fill the emotional void that comes after leaving work. But is the truth really that simple? What if I told you that seeking comfort from old friendships could bring unexpected consequences? In this video, we'll explore 5 surprising reasons why you should reconsider relying on old friends to soothe post-retirement loneliness. From the changing nature of relationships over time to the potential risks of emotional dependency, each reason will reveal a new perspective, helping you understand that seeking comfort from familiar faces might not be the optimal solution. Instead, we'll discover a smarter and healthier approach to overcoming post-retirement loneliness, a path that helps you find true fulfillment and personal growth. Stay tuned until the end of the video, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you view and build your social life during this phase. 1. Friendships change over time. One of the hardest things to accept after retirement is that friendships are not the same as they once were. When you were working, friendships often thrive because of shared environments, daily interactions, and natural opportunities to connect. You saw colleagues every day, shared lunch breaks, attended meetings together, and even spent weekends socializing. But after retirement, life takes a different turn for everyone, and these changes can make friendships feel distant or even fade away. In the past, maintaining friendships required little effort because shared routines naturally brought people together. You might have had a group of coworkers who met for coffee every morning or close friends you frequently saw at work-related gatherings. However, once you retire, those automatic interactions disappear. Each person follows their own new routine. Some prioritize family, others travel, and some immerse themselves in personal hobbies. As a result, friendships that once felt effortless now require conscious effort to maintain, and not everyone is willing or able to do so. Take John, for example, a 72-year-old man who retired after 40 years in finance. During his working years, he had a close-knit group of colleagues whom he considered lifelong friends. He assumed that after retirement, their bond would remain just as strong. However, when he started reaching out and arranging meetups, he realized that many of them had moved on. Some were busy with grandchildren, others were traveling, and a few simply showed less interest in staying connected. The people he once relied on for companionship now seemed distant, not out of malice, but simply because their priorities had shifted. For many retirees, this realization comes as an emotional shock. If you expect to pick up where you left off, you may feel disappointed and even lonelier than before. Waiting for old friends to reach out or expecting relationships to stay the same can lead to frustration when you find that reality no longer matches your expectations. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that friendships are permanent, but the truth is people change and relationships evolve accordingly. The commonalities that once bonded you and your friends may no longer exist. If your friendships were built around work discussions, but now no one works anymore, your conversations might lack the same depth or relevance. If you and a friend once bonded over sports, but one of you no longer plays, the connection may weaken. Realizing that friendships have changed can create feelings of loss and isolation. However, rather than clinging to relationships that no longer align with your life, it's essential to adapt. Instead of expecting old friends to fulfill your social needs, open yourself up to new connections. This doesn't mean abandoning past friendships, but rather adjusting your perspective on them. One of the best ways to cope with these changes is to accept that friendships, like everything else in life, go through different stages, beginning, growing, and sometimes fading. What matters is not how many old friends you keep, but whether you are willing to embrace new relationships that fit your current stage in life. Many retirees find joy in joining clubs, pursuing hobbies, or volunteering. Rather than focusing on maintaining friendships that feel forced, they invest in meeting new people who share their current interests. Some join dance classes, yoga groups, or book clubs, where they form new bonds that bring excitement and fulfillment. These new relationships not only combat loneliness, but also enrich daily life with fresh experiences and connections. If you feel frustrated by the changing nature of friendships, ask yourself, am I holding on to the past because I fear change? Staying in touch with old friends is valuable. But if a relationship no longer brings joy, or if you're always the one initiating contact, it may be time to focus on connections that are more meaningful in the present. Remember, retirement is not the end of friendships. It is an opportunity to build new, fulfilling relationships that align with your current lifestyle. Not all friendships last forever, and that's okay. The key is to embrace change, find joy in new social opportunities, and not let the past hold you back from creating a meaningful future. 2. You might be seeking comfort in the wrong place. After retirement, many people experience a deep sense of loneliness and disconnection. The sudden shift from a structured work life to open-ended days can feel unsettling, and it's natural to seek comfort in familiar places, especially old friendships. You may believe that reconnecting with longtime friends, visiting them frequently, or arranging meetups will ease your loneliness. But here's the hard truth. Loneliness isn't always about missing people. It's often about missing purpose. If you're looking for emotional fulfillment in the wrong place, you might end up feeling even more isolated. When you were working, your daily life had structure. Your job provided you with responsibilities, interactions, and a sense of contribution. Every morning, you had a reason to get up, a schedule to follow, and tasks that gave your life meaning. But once retirement begins, that structure disappears overnight. Many retirees mistakenly believe that what they miss is social connection, when in reality, what they're truly longing for is a renewed sense of purpose. Turning to old friends for comfort might seem like the easiest solution, but it rarely addresses the root cause of emotional emptiness. Take Susan, for example. At 67, she retired after decades of working as a nurse. She loved her job and the constant interactions it provided. But after retiring, her days felt empty. To fill the void, she started calling and visiting her old colleagues, hoping to recreate the same sense of connection she had at work. At first, the visits were enjoyable, but after a while, she noticed something. Her friends had moved on. Some were busy traveling, others were occupied with grandkids, and a few had even built new social circles that didn't include her. No matter how much time she spent with them, she still felt a lingering emptiness. That's when she realized the problem wasn't the lack of socializing. It was the lack of meaningful engagement. Similarly, take Robert, a 70-year-old former accountant. After retiring, he felt lost without the structure of his daily work routine. He thought that spending more time with his old friends would help, so he started reaching out to them. But he soon realized that many of their conversations revolved around the past, rehashing old memories instead of creating new ones. Some of his friends were dealing with their own struggles, and their meetings often turned into sessions of mutual complaining rather than uplifting experiences. Instead of feeling rejuvenated after seeing his friends, Robert often felt drained and even more disconnected from his present reality. The key lesson here is that while friendships are valuable, they aren't a cure for the emotional challenges of retirement. If you find yourself constantly seeking company but still feeling unsatisfied, it may be time to shift your focus. Instead of relying on others to bring you joy, consider what truly makes you feel engaged and fulfilled. So what's the better approach? Many retirees find deeper fulfillment by pursuing new passions, setting fresh goals, or immersing themselves in meaningful activities. Volunteering, joining a club, taking a class, or even starting a small business can bring a renewed sense of purpose. These activities don't just fill your time. They provide opportunities to meet like-minded people, develop new skills, and feel a sense of achievement. For instance, after Susan realized that reconnecting with old colleagues wasn't giving her the sense of purpose she craved, she decided to volunteer at a local hospital. It allowed her to use her skills, interact with new people, and feel like she was making a difference again. Over time, she formed connections with fellow volunteers who shared her passion, creating friendships that were based on present experiences rather than just nostalgia. Likewise, Robert discovered that his true passion had always been woodworking, something he never had time for while working full-time. He joined a local woodworking group, where he not only honed his skills, but also met people who shared his enthusiasm. The sense of accomplishment he felt after creating something with his own hands far outweighed the temporary comfort of revisiting old friendships that no longer aligned with his life. If you often feel lonely and your first instinct is to visit an old friend, take a moment to ask yourself, am I really missing this person? Or am I missing something deeper? If it's the latter, then the solution isn't in rekindling old connections. It's in creating a new path forward. At this stage of life, true emotional fulfillment doesn't come from looking back. It comes from embracing the present and the future. While it's perfectly okay to cherish old friendships, they shouldn't be the only thing you rely on for happiness. Instead of seeking comfort in what once was, focus on building a life that excites you today. Because the best way to combat loneliness isn't just to surround yourself with people. It's to create a life so fulfilling that loneliness has no room to exist. 3. Always being the one to initiate can create an imbalance. True friendship requires contributions from both sides. When you're the only one making an effort to stay in touch, planning meetups, and maintaining the relationship, you unintentionally create an imbalance. This not only exhausts you, but can also diminish your value in the eyes of the other person. A lasting relationship cannot be sustained by one-sided efforts. If you are always the one keeping the connection alive, you might be investing in a friendship where the other person does not truly appreciate or prioritize you. When you're constantly the one initiating contact, you may unknowingly send the message that you need the relationship more than the other person does. This dynamic can make them take you for granted, knowing that no matter what, you will always reach out first. Sometimes, taking a step back and observing whether the other person makes an effort will help you understand your true place in the friendship. A genuine friendship should not make you feel like you are chasing someone's attention. Rather, it should be a mutual connection where both parties want to maintain it. This imbalance can lead to feelings of hurt and disappointment. If you often find yourself asking, why am I always the one calling first? Why do I always have to suggest meeting up? Then it may be time to reconsider the friendship. These questions are not just frustrating, but can also take a toll on your self-esteem. A true friendship should bring joy, not exhaustion from constantly trying to hold on to something that is no longer reciprocal. Take David, for example, a 65-year-old retiree. After leaving his job, he felt a sense of emptiness and tried hard to stay connected with old friends. He was always the first to text, suggest outings, and even drive long distances to visit them. Initially, he believed he was simply doing his part to maintain friendships. But over time, he realized that if he didn't initiate contact, no one would reach out to him first. That realization made him understand that he was holding on to relationships that no longer held the same value. So how can you create balance in friendships? Try adjusting your approach. If you have made the effort a few times without receiving the same energy in return, step back and observe. If the other person truly values your friendship, they will make an effort to stay in touch. Instead of spending too much time on relationships that no longer bring value, seek new friendships with people who share your interests and are willing to build a more balanced connection. Remember, friendship is not a one-sided responsibility. It should bring joy, connection, and a sense of appreciation from both sides. If you feel like you're the only one making an effort, it may be time to reevaluate and invest in relationships that provide real balance and mutual value. 4. Over-reliance on friends can hinder your growth. As people enter retirement, many feel a void in their lives due to the loss of daily routines, work responsibilities, or social obligations. To fill this emptiness, they turn to friends as a source of emotional support. However, excessive dependence on friends can become a significant barrier to personal growth. While friendships are essential, relying on them too much for happiness, comfort, or direction can prevent you from developing independence, exploring new interests, and discovering other sources of fulfillment in life. Over-reliance on friends can create an invisible limit, keeping you from stepping outside your comfort zone. For example, If you only feel happy when meeting up with an old group of friends, you may miss out on opportunities to connect with new people or try new activities. This can lead to a negative cycle. When friends are busy or unavailable, you feel lonely and unmotivated. Instead of addressing the issue independently, you keep looking to your friends as the only way to feel better. The reality is that they cannot always be there, and depending solely on them can leave you feeling disappointed, isolated, and emotionally stuck. Michael, a 68-year-old retiree, is a prime example. After working in the finance industry for over 40 years, he retired, assuming that his longtime friends would always be around. At first, he regularly met them for coffee and golf. However, he soon realized that everyone had their own lives. Some were busy with family, others loved traveling, and some simply lost interest in the activities they once shared. When he couldn't see his friends as often as he hoped, Michael felt frustrated and lonely. He had no idea what to do with his free time. But instead of continuing to rely on his friends, he decided to enroll in a painting class and volunteer at a local library. Through these new experiences, he rediscovered joy and creativity and connected with new people. Michael realized that happiness doesn't just come from old friendships, but also from personal growth and new connections. To avoid overdependence on friends, you can adopt strategies to create a balanced life. First, explore personal interests and dedicate time to learning new skills or pursuing hobbies that you never had the chance to before. Second, expand your social circle by joining volunteer groups, sports clubs, or skill-building classes where you can meet like-minded individuals. Third, develop an independent mindset by setting personal goals and working toward them without relying on friends for validation. Friendships are valuable, but they should not be the sole source of joy and meaning in your life. When you depend too much on friends, you may unknowingly limit yourself from other opportunities for growth. Remember, retirement is not the end. It is a new chapter for you to explore, learn, and grow in your own way. 5. Unhealthy friendships can be draining. Friendships that no longer fit can drain you, especially as you enter the later stages of life. Friendships should bring comfort, but if you feel stressed or exhausted after every interaction, it's a sign that the relationship is no longer positive. When a friendship becomes an obligation rather than a joy, you may be maintaining it out of fear of loneliness or a sense of duty rather than genuine desire. A one-sided relationship, where you're always the one reaching out, making plans, while the other person passively responds, can gradually become a burden. This not only creates an imbalance, but can also make you feel taken for granted. Old friendships can also hinder your personal growth, especially when your values, interests, and lifestyle have evolved, yet you feel bound by the past. If you can't share new experiences for fear of judgment or lack of support, it's a sign that you should seek more positive connections. A classic example is Linda, a 62-year-old woman who had maintained a 40-year friendship but recently realized that every conversation with her friend left her feeling criticized and drained. She felt exhausted but continued out of obligation. Eventually, when she created some distance, she found opportunities to meet new friends who shared healthier, more uplifting interests. Similarly, Robert, 68, noticed after retirement that his old group of friends was only interested in reminiscing about the past rather than engaging in plans for the future. After joining a book club, he found like-minded people who energized and inspired him. Holding on to negative relationships can prevent you from discovering more fulfilling connections. If you invest too much time and energy in friendships that no longer serve you, you won't have the space to welcome new friends who share your current values and aspirations. To recognize and address this, listen to your emotions, evaluate the value a relationship brings, allow yourself to create distance, and seek out new connections. Letting go doesn't mean ending friendships completely. It means prioritizing your emotional well-being. Friendships should be a source of encouragement and energy. If a relationship only leaves you drained, it may be time to reconsider your approach. After exploring these 5 crucial aspects, how friendships change over time, the risks of seeking comfort in the wrong place, the imbalance of always initiating the limitations of over-relying on friends, and the draining effects of unhealthy friendships, it's clear that navigating relationships in retirement requires mindfulness and self-awareness. While friendships remain an important part of life, it's essential to build connections that truly support your well-being, encourage growth, and bring genuine fulfillment. Instead of holding onto relationships that no longer serve you, focus on fostering new, meaningful connections and embracing opportunities for personal development. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced any of these challenges in your friendships? Share your insights in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more valuable content on navigating life after retirement. Your support helps us continue creating content that matters.